Hello, we get to start Photoshop now. This is going to be my quick little intro to working with the program and the things that you should always do when you start or open it up. So before we even begin, you need to know where to find Photoshop. I have mine down here in my bottom taskbar, but if yours doesn't show up or you don't have that on the student computers, you can always find it by going to your Start menu in the bottom left. And likely these won't show up for you either. I do have mine pinned to the Start menu, but if, again, this is blank for you, you can still find it by going to All Programs, and up at the top it should show as Adobe Photoshop CC 2017. So go ahead and make sure that you can find that, and I know it's tempting to click on it, but don't just yet. There's a shortcut that I want you to use. It's Shift, Control, Alt. Hold that down the entire time. Do not let go. Click Photoshop, keep your fingers on the keyboard until you see this little dialog box pop up. It says delete the Adobe Photoshop settings file, and you're going to say yes. The reason we want to do that is the same reason that we reset the settings on the cameras before we use them every time. Because you know when you open that camera or you open Photoshop, you have a clean slate. So this is Photoshop. It might look intimidating, but don't worry, we're going to break it down. This big gray area right here, this is basically like outer space. There's nothing here. There's nothing for you to work with. There's no canvas or image here yet. So that's one of the first things we need to do. However, I want to get you a little bit more comfortable with the workspace before we actually start to open anything. This on the left is your toolbar. So these have all the basic tools that you're going to need. And it can be moved for whatever reason if you want to drag it over, to a different side. It's pretty flexible. Clicking those arrows, it will compact down to like 2 columns. If you ever accidentally click the X and you're like, oh my gosh, things are disappearing, my workspace doesn't look like everyone else's, or I think I've lost something, oh my gosh, what do I do? Don't worry, up in the very top right corner of the screen, if you click that drop down button, these are the different configurations of your workspace that you can choose from. So depending on what you're doing in Photoshop, you might want to be working in photography, working on painting, web graphics, things like that, motion graphics. So they'll have different configurations set up for what they think you'll use the most. We're going to stick with Essentials. So if you ever click into one of these different ones, just try to head back to Essentials, at least while we're starting out. However, if you are in Essentials and you, again, have like deleted your taskbar, or your toolbar, or things have gone away, all you have to do is go to Reset Essentials, and it will pop back up everything that the workspace started with. So here we are. Again, this is the toolbar on the left. These have all the basic tools, and I won't go into a ton of detail yet because we will get hands-on experience working with them all, but just to get you started, this first group, these are the selection and artboard tools. So these are things that you use to move and work with pixels or the general like canvas and art space in Photoshop. So selection and artboard tools are the first ones to start. The next group, there's cropping and slicing tools. So right here you get to crop and cut things apart. And there are also measuring tools, and I know that there are a lot more tools available than what we see right here. That's because they're kind of hidden under each other. So if you see these little triangles in the bottom corner, that means there are hidden tools. So when I hold down on any of these icons, it's going to pop up all these different options that are connected. So again, these are selection tools. What you'll also see when you hold down, there you go, and it gives you that list, the names of the tools, the little icons of the tools. Over here on the far right, these are the shortcuts. So if I press a different shortcut, like this one is going to be V, if I press L for lasso, now you can see that the lasso tool is selected. How do I get the other ones? If I hold maybe Alt L? Nope, that doesn't work. I'm experimenting. I haven't actually tried. I usually just hold down on them. I'll have to figure out what it takes to get to the other hidden tools after you press L the first time. I'll get back to you. But anything with a triangle's got a hidden tool under it. The things that I'd say to start experimenting with once we create a canvas or open up an image, the brush tool is pretty simple and friendly. These are the painting tools, painting and drawing tools. So paintbrush, pencil, different things like that. And then there are retouching tools, which are really fun. So cloning and retouching tools, healing brushes and stuff, we will get to as well. Moving further down, these are more photography based. So dodging and burning and the sponge tool, these are from when photography was actually processed in a dark room, and these were real actual physical tools that you would use to work with the photos. Pretty cool. And then you can add text to your work as well. So basic rundown on some of the tools available there. Another thing you want to know, this is where you can choose colors. So the square on top, that's your foreground color. That is what, if you grab a paintbrush, what you'll be drawing with. You can click anywhere in this panel to change the value of the color you have selected. And here on this hue slider, you can change the hue of the color you want to work with. So pick whatever color you want. You'll be able to grab a paintbrush, and once we open up Canvas, start drawing. Background color doesn't come into play too much, but I will let you know when we'll need to know about that. And over here, these are your panels. So again, just showing you, kind of familiarizing you with the workspace. These panels will have some options and details that are sometimes related to tools, so more options related to a tool, or sometimes it's something completely separate. So for instance, layers, once we open our file, you'll be able to see the different layers that you can work on in Photoshop. So again, toolbar on the left, panels generally on the right. If you do accidentally mess something up or delete something, or you can't find your way around, just go to the top right and reset essentials. Right here, reset. Cool, and that'll bring things back to where they started. So now we actually have to open something to work in. Two things you can do. You can either create a new file by going to File, New, and this will create just a blank workspace for you to start fresh from. Here you get to choose the width and height and also the units. So if you're working on something that you need to be printed a certain size, for instance, you might want to do inches. If it's going to go on a website, you might need pixels. So there's some different options there. We'll stick with inches for now. One big thing you want to pay attention to is the resolution. You always, always, always want your resolution to be 300, because when you print something out, this is the minimum quality for it to print that looks good to the eye, and it will be sharp. Any less than that, and your eye can start to pick up that it's not quite as detailed, not quite as much information printed there. And this is just, it means that there are 300 pixels for every inch of your file. If you see something like 72, that likely means it was saved from the internet, and for something to be uploaded on the internet or show through a screen, screens can really only show a maximum quality of 72 pixels per inch. Any more than that, and it's really just kind of lost on the screen, you can't tell. So a lot of times things that are up on a website or designed to be on the internet are only 72 pixels per inch. It saves file size and does the job, but you would not want to ever print from something that was 72 ppi, which is pixels per inch. Color mode, just real quick, I am going to say if you ever have the intention of printing something, make sure that you change it to CMYK color. Those are the colors that professional printers use. RGB, red, green, blue, those are the colors used in screen projection. So not that I usually recommend this, but if you get really close to your screen, you can start to see the pixels kind of broken up. And if you can get even closer, you would start to see that the colors on your screen, on TVs, things like that, projection screens, or where light is used in an additive sense. So these colors can be added in any combination to make all the colors that we see on a screen. Red, green, and blue are for electronics and screens. CMYK colors are for printers. So I'm going to go ahead and switch that. And again, I know this might not be something that you use all the time, but oops, don't want to leave my resolution low. But it's good for you to at least have heard it once and to know about it, know that it's out there, and if you go into this, it'll become more relevant to you. We don't really need to worry about the advanced options, especially since they're being slow to load, but the major things are the size, the resolution, and if you're planning to print anything, make sure that it's CMYK. So now we're going to go to Create, and we have our first workspace. This is called the Canvas, and it really is like a blank canvas if you were to start painting on it. One thing I want you to notice over here, now that we have a file open, you have layers on the right side. We really only have one, and it's called the background layer, and it's locked. The reason is that's the only layer that we have. I'm going to pause the recording real quick so I can start a new session.